I respect everybody until they earn my disrespect. As a citizen of the United States, I would like to give my interpretation of the Natural Born Citizens Clause of the United States Constitution. It is my firm belief that the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution for us citizens to interpret for ourselves, because the Constitution is nothing but a list of restrictions on the government and rights of the people. Now, why would I give the criminal the law and ask him to interpret it and tell me if he broke it? This is what we do when we ask the government to interpret the Constitution for us. We are supposed to interpret it for ourselves, and we are supposed to enforce it against them. The Natural Born Citizens Clause of the United States Constitution was written to keep foreign influence out of the White House. And more importantly, it was to ensure that the president or the vice presidential candidate holds allegiance to America and America alone. I find it very telling and very troubling that people like Mark Levin, who is supposed to be a constitutional scholar, doesn't know the very basic principle of the Natural Born Citizens Clause, and will actually say something like he hasn't investigated it. In saying that Ted Cruz is a natural born citizen, Mark Levin also said in the same sentence that he hadn't investigated it. It's a very simple concept. And for people like Mark Levin to actually say that the Natural Born Citizens Clause is not defined in the Constitution is kind of a lie in itself, because the very next sentence of the Natural Born Citizens Clause exempts the Founding Fathers themselves, and this should be a big clue to anybody who has the IQ of a turnip. They exempted themselves because they were not natural-born citizens, and thus, unless they exempted themselves or scratched the Natural-Born Citizens Clause altogether, they themselves would not have been eligible. This is big, and anybody who reads the Constitution should be able to spot this. They wrote the Natural-Born Citizens Clause, then they immediately exempted themselves. This should tell anybody that it's because they were not natural-born citizens. We went through the purpose of the clause, the intent, why the Founding Fathers put it in there. Now, the Founding Fathers used the term natural-born citizen only once, in reference to the Vice President and President of the United States. Only once. Yet they used the term citizen over and over again in the Constitution. Now, if the term citizen and natural-born citizen, as some try to contend, is the same in the Founding Fathers' eyes or in the Constitution's eyes, then why didn't they just use the word citizen again? It would have been easy. You just write citizen in once again. They did not. They chose natural-born, which means it has to be different. Much different. The term citizen could mean actually one of about 4 categories. You can be a citizen of America, and that means that you could have been naturalized. That means that you can be a dual citizen. There are different types of citizen. Natural-born citizen has its own definition, as a dual citizen does, as a naturalized citizen does. They're not all the same, and they are not interchangeable, as some try to say they are. I actually have people that think, yes, they tell me they actually think that 2 illegal aliens come into this country, have a child, and that child falls under the Natural-Born Citizens Clause. Are you crazy? Are you nuts? There's no way that that could be true whatsoever, at all. Do you actually believe that the Founding Fathers wanted two illegal aliens to come into this country, drop a kid who could then become the president or vice president of the United States? Do you honestly believe that? You need to read the Constitution again. Again, I've always considered myself a constitutionalist. I've always registered as an independent. I don't fall for the two-party, it's their fault drama. I think both of y'all are at fault, big time. But the Natural Born Citizens Clause is, I think, self-explanatory. To anybody to try to think that these terms are interchangeable is absolutely crazy. Crazy. It's nuts. Get a dictionary and look up the different terms. Because they're different. Wow. The Founding Fathers took their definition of a natural-born citizen from Vattel's Law of Nations. Some of the Founding Fathers were actually known to carry Vattel's Law of Nations. This is where they got it from. So anybody can go and look this up. A natural-born citizen is not the same as a citizen. It's not the same as a dual citizen. It's not the same as a naturalized citizen. It's not the same as a generalized citizen. It's a specific term meeting specific qualifications. Now, if you want allegiance to America and you want a citizen of America, to say that two illegals can come here, drop a kid, and he's a natural-born citizen is way beyond anybody's comprehensive thinking. This is way outside. I don't understand how any conservative could think this way. To be a naturalized American citizen, you have to be born on American soil of two. Both of your parents have to be citizens. Citizens does not mean dual citizens. Citizens does not mean naturalized citizens. It means citizens. That means both of your parents are citizens by no legislation whatsoever. That means your parents are not immigrants that came here and all of a sudden now they are qualified to have a child in the White House. This is absolutely ridiculous to think that you had the Founding Fathers they're rolling over in their graves. See, after I told you the intent of the Natural Born Citizens Clause was to keep foreign influence out of the White House. Do you know it was actually British influence they didn't want in the White House? Do you know that if you look into a bunghole's background, his supposed daddy, who was from Kenya, I'm not saying he was from Kenya, I said his father, supposed reported father, was from Kenya. And Kenya at the time is British rule. British law says that if you are born of a British subject, then you are a British subject upon birth. So at the time, right now, we have a British subject sitting in the White House, and the Founding Fathers are spinning in their graves. Obungo pulled this shit, got away with it so far. I think he's going to get caught. I hope I see him go to trial for the falsified identification that he has presented to this country. Obungo isn't who he told you he is. Obungo is actually Barry Soetoro, using a stolen Social Security number, using a falsified selective service card. He's a liar, he's a thief, he's just a criminal. It's in the Natural Born Citizens Clause. I asked before, do we let the criminal interpret the law and tell us if he broke the law when he stole something from us? No, we don't. So why as citizens do we ask the government if they violated the Constitution against us? Shouldn't we be nudging each other? Shouldn't we be asking each other? No. What we have is we have supposed constitutional scholars like Mark Levin lying to America. I find it quite telling that this supposed constitutional scholar doesn't grasp the very simple concept of this Natural Born Citizens Clause to keep foreign influence out of our White House. I find it quite telling that Mark Levin says that Cruz is eligible, and then at the same sentence says he hasn't looked into it. Are you people awake? Mark Levin, Hannity calls the Great One. Mark Levin, who actually wants to open up the Constitution to a constitutional convention with the den of snakes we have in Congress and Senate and the White House right now. Really? Mark Levin is a snake. Well, he's actually a snake oil salesman. He wants you to buy his books. Mark Levin is a puke. Mark Levin is a liar. If he actually tries to sell you the idea that as a constitutional scholar, he hasn't looked into or understand the very basic concept of the Natural Born Citizen Clause leading to allegiance to America, I don't know what to tell you. You people should be, excoriating Levin for this. Constitutional scholar? That sounds like the constitutional scholar we have in the White House being shot down more times by the Supreme Court, unanimously I might add, than any other president. Yeah, he's a constitutional scholar, he is. Because old bunghole got away with it and isn't getting away with it, Cruz stinks, or the Cruz followers that I contend with online when I try to tell them that he's not a natural-born citizen, can never qualify as a natural-born citizen, and then explain it to them. Once they finally get it, you know what their answer is? Well, Obama got away with it. So now, violating the Constitution, you think should be the norm? Wow. Wow. Need to learn your Constitution. As a citizen, it is up to us to enforce that Constitution. Take my word for anything. Look into it yourself. Read for yourself. Comprehend for yourself. Discuss with other citizens. Not the people that want to open the floodgates to illegal aliens that don't belong here, don't contribute, and belong elsewhere. We're supposed to be looking after and preserving our own rights as citizens. Any background check, any restriction on purchases is an infringement of your Second Amendment right to own a firearm. Every citizen should be aware of this. This crying about how that's got nothing to do with the Constitution. You want to change the Constitution. You want to make laws that go against the Constitution. You have to change the Constitution to say what America wants it to say. The citizens want it to say. Not what the government wants it to say. Letting the government interpret your Constitution is shitting on you. You're asking the criminal to interpret the law and ask, are you violating me? While you're back there, can I give you some grease? Good luck, America. May God bless us all. I think we're going to need it.